everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here in Insurance Syndicate headquarters. And man, we have a great show for you.
Good morning. What is happening, everybody? It's Tuesday, so it's time for some fun Tuesday training. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. As always, just like it says in the intro, we're going to have a good time today. We got a great guest. I can't wait to bring him on. He is going to drop. So you can't say dropping bombs anymore. Facebook will get you for that. So he's going to drop some knowledge on you guys, and we're going to have a good time. So get excited. First and foremost, before we dive in, man, I've got some news that dropped yesterday that is fairly mind-blowing and massive. You may have seen the live press conference that Dr. Oz was on yesterday with a handful of attorney generals and other folks from different federal districts. And we're going to dive into that a little bit. Before we do, as always, this show is brought to you by DFY CRM. DFY 2.0 is on the horizon. Eric and his partner, Tim James, are about to drop a massive update on DFY. I've seen it behind the scenes, and it looks outstanding. All the stuff, all the things. The reason I like DFY is mainly, again, because it gives me all the things that I need. And we are doing some massive overhaul internally on our DFY platform as well. So if you're in need of a CRM, want a demo, give Eric and Tim a call. They will hook you up and show you everything that it's about. But without further ado, check this out. Straight from the Department of Justice. National healthcare fraud takedown results in 324 defendants charged in connection with over $14.6 billion in alleged fraud. You guys know I like to point out fraud that happens in this place because it does happen often. A lot of people are questioning, like, is there really fraud in Medicare? Is there really fraud in healthcare? There's a lot of it. And a lot of folks are like, well, it's always the insurance carriers. Like, they're the big fraudulent ones. And certainly insurance carriers have been under scrutiny for practices such as upcoding primarily, right? As well as some of their prior authorization practices. But the fact remains that there are a massive number of institutions, for lack of a better term at the moment, that are bilking Medicare and Medicaid out of billions of dollars. From time to time, if you've watched this show for any period of time, you have seen me talk about fraud in individual cases where maybe a certain doctor worked with a durable medical equipment company, right? And is fraudulently ordering testing kits or DME supplies, whatever it is, and bilking Medicare for, 7 figures, 8 figures sometimes. I think one of the biggest ones that we talked about recently was a doctor that got hit for around $55 million in fraud against Medicare. But this is much larger. And as it says here, this is the largest Justice Department healthcare fraud takedown in history. It more than doubles a prior record of $6 billion. Right here at the top, the Justice Department today announced the results of its 2025 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown, which resulted in criminal charges against 324 defendants, including 96 doctors, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, and other licensed medical professionals in 50 federal districts and 12 state attorney general's offices across the U.S. for alleged participation in various healthcare fraud schemes involving $14.6 billion in intended loss. The takedown involved federal and state law enforcement agencies across the country and represents an unprecedented effort to combat healthcare fraud schemes that exploit patients and taxpayers. The actual fraud, if you saw the press conference that they held yesterday live, the actual loss was about $2.9 billion. So they've managed to catch some of it and prevent it from resulting in a real loss. The intended loss, again, about almost $15 billion, but the real loss just short of $3 billion. I am not going to go through the whole article because it is rather lengthy, but just to give you an example right here, it says that demonstrating the significant return on the results from healthcare fraud enforcement efforts, government has seized $245 million in cash, luxury vehicles, cryptocurrency, and other assets as part of the coordinated enforcement. As you cruise through the article, and I will get this in the group for you guys, it goes through the entire thing. Everything from opioid schemes to durable medical equipment schemes, etc. There are transnational criminal organizations that are involved in this. We have organizations from Russia, from Pakistan, from other Eastern European governments, such as Estonia. Right here it says, right? And it goes through everything that they've been involved in. It is massive. Again, we have fraudulent wound care, right? We have opioid trafficking. Right here, 74 defendants, including 44 licensed medical professionals, it says, were charged across 58 cases in connection with alleged illegal diversion of over 15 million pills of prescription opioids. Cruising along, yet telemedicine, genetic testing fraud. We've heard about that before. Here it is again. And then some various other fraud schemes. So this again goes through the entire criminal investigation and project. You can check it out yourself. But this is, I mean, it's a big hit, and I'm hoping it turns out to be a big win for us, because I'm of the opinion that if they can clean out the fraud, then maybe Medicare won't be up against it so much where everybody's worried that Medicare is going to run out of money. But this is a massive deal. And I would encourage you to go check out the live press conference. I'll put that YouTube video linked in the article as well, so you can watch it. There are several AGs that are on there, along with Dr. Oz, that talk about the situation and what they are doing to clean it up. And a big part of what they're doing, just so you know, is they are, and this is how part of how they narrow this down, they are incorporating a lot of artificial intelligence into their investigation practices to find this fraud. And Dr. Oz says something interesting about it. The reason that we're using AI is because the normal auditors that look at this type of stuff aren't criminals. They're not fraudulent people, so they don't think like a criminal. So it's harder for them to uncover these things, right? Because they don't have the mindset of a criminal to dig in and like, how would they actually go about this? But apparently AI can do that. I don't know if they're prompting it like, hey, act like a criminal and open up our books and audit them and see where we have gaps. But apparently that is the case, and they have uncovered a massive amount of fraud here. So like I said, I will get that article in the group for you guys. You can check it out. But that is big news. That is big stuff. And I'm all for them cleaning it up. Now, with that said, man, I am super happy to bring on our guest today to talk to you guys. We're going to talk a lot about retirement planning. We're going to talk about annuities. We're going to talk about the need for long-term care. This gentleman has an event coming up here in Austin where he is going to basically unfold his practice and show it to you and show you how you can incorporate some of these different strategies, products, and methods to grow your practice, whether it be through referral mechanisms or incorporating some of these different products and sales concepts on your own. Please welcome, for the first time ever on Tuesday Training, a good buddy of mine that I've met in the past few years and gotten to know. Super happy to have him on. What is up, Mr. Roy Snar?
What's going on, Tony? Hey, man, glad to be on here to help drop some knowledge.
Absolutely, dude. It's good to see you. I appreciate you a lot for taking the time to come on, and super excited for your upcoming event. You're here in the Austin area, just like me, right?
Yeah, we're right around the corner from each other, man.
Yeah. Are you born and raised in Austin?
No, I was actually born and raised in Southern California and then lived in Missouri like half my life during school breaks with my dad. So California to Missouri. And then in 2018, I was like, I got to get out of California. I had a friend, and he's a realtor. And with real estate agents, you know what it is. It's always a good time to buy or sell. He goes, come on out, check it out. So I flew out here. I'm like, man, I love this place. Never been to Austin before. Just moved everything my entire life within 30 days. And made the leap. And that was in 2018. Yeah.
That was about the time I met you, was right when you got here then. When
That's correct,
you and me and Jason Fisher all went and grabbed some lunch at Paul Martin's that day.
We sure did. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And so I got out here and met with Jason and just started getting plugged into all the networking and trying to meet as many people as possible.
Right on, man. Well, it's certainly good to have you. A lot of our guests certainly have probably seen you around the platforms. Some of them probably haven't. So if you don't mind, just take a short moment, introduce yourself, let them know who you are and kind of what you're doing in the space, and a little bit about what you're about.
Yeah, great. Thanks. So in summary, we produce life insurance, annuities, and long-term care. Those are our three main lines. We do not sell Medicare. We do life insurance, but we don't focus on the final expense side. And I've been doing this now for nearly 15 years. It's crazy. Pretty soon I'm going to be able to say that half of my life has been in insurance. And when I was a young kid growing up, I never thought I would say that, but here we are. And so over the years, what we've done is we built a very successful model for the consumer approach. And then we got together and we said, you know what, how about we start sharing this with other agents? We have multiple 7-figure years. We can now share with agents how we've done it and hopefully help their success out. And that's when we launched what's known as annuityproducers.com. It's the only live national training event. We host free weekly Zoom calls for agents that they can hop on. There's no contracts required, no sales pitch. It's just pure training, very value added, just like what you're doing here. And we've just simply focused on annuities and asset-based long-term care. And we've been able to grow this event to now when agents started reaching out. It's been 4 years since we've done this. And then agents started reaching out like, hey, look, when are you going to have like a live event? We're like, okay, let's do a live event. So we did our first one last year. And then we're coming up onto our second event this year. And it's fun. It's the only non-IMO sponsored annuity event in the industry. So it's a great time to hang out and have fun. And we just rock and roll and sell as much insurance as possible.
Absolutely. When is your event coming up here in Austin?
It's August 21st and 22nd.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Where are you hosting it at?
The Kalahari Resort in Round Rock, which is, I just tell everyone it's Austin. It's really close to Austin, as you know.
Yeah, basically, I've actually been out there. It's a super nice facility. So quick question. What differences did you notice when you were doing this in California versus now doing it in Texas? Was there any major differences that you found as you migrated over here and continued your practice?
Oh, yes, I had very much so. I had to reinvent the wheel because California is unique. It's kind of like New York where they have product availability, but it's much different. There's way more options out here in Texas. And so when I was in California, I had a partnership with a property and casualty company. And so they would get home and auto deals. I would call them, hey, by the way, you got your home and auto. What about life insurance? And then what are you doing for retirement planning? And so that's how I was getting most of my business, that and then working with the school districts to help teachers get the most out of thetheir pensions. They had what's called CalSTRS there, very similar to what we have here in Texas.
Like TRS?
Yeah, the same thing. So I was helping them with their pension planning. Well, I moved out here. I had zero partnerships, zero network, nothing at all, right? And then I started networking. That's where I met Jason, then I finally met you. And so what I ended up doing is transforming my entire business model. Because when I was in California, I was predominantly selling life insurance. I was doing like maybe $1 to $3 million in premium a year in annuities. And every time I wrote an annuity, I was like, this is way easier than dealing with medical underwriting and the whole process of life insurance. How do I become a specialist in just annuities? How do I do it? And I started buying leads in California. I started trying to do like micro workshops, but it wasn't really clicking for me. It wasn't sticking. And then when I moved out to Texas, I finally told myself, I was like, this is my shot to maximize and focus 100% on annuities and asset-based long-term care. And that's what I did. I started buying every single lead you can imagine. I was driving from here to San Antonio, to Houston, to Dallas, everywhere, just trying to do as much as I possibly could in the annuity space. And then I finally figured out, hey, look, all the top guys, they're doing workshops for annuities. I was like, let me do a workshop. And that way I can have people come to me and I don't have to drive 200-300 miles every single day. Mm-hmm. So it was a very long journey. I mean, I literally came out here, had no money because I spent everything on my house and my mom's house, got her house and my wife and I a house. And I said, all right, now I got to figure this out from the ground up. But luckily I had the American dream, which is called the credit card. And I maxed out all those bad boys. I didn't care. I had no care at all. I just maxed them all out and said, well, the hell with it. I'm going to figure this out or go down trying. And yeah, it was a very fun, interesting year. It wasn't until about 2021 where I really hit my clip and hit my pace after freshly moving to a brand new marketplace and redoing everything.
Right on. How did you get into insurance in the first place?
Well, that's a great question. So when I was about 14 years old, my mother became disabled. Somebody ran a stop sign, hit her, sideswiped her, and then it led to her acceleration of degenerative disc disease. So she lost the car. We lost our house out of it. This is when I was 14, about 2001 timeframe. The stock market all crashed. A divorce came about it. I had to move from a school that I grew up in all the way to another school and live with my grandparents. And we ended up living in a modular trailer. Like all these crazy things happened to me between like 14 and 16 years old. I'm like, wow. And I was always curious, like, how could that happen? How could like one little accident just destroy us financially and we lose absolutely everything? But the one thing we did have was a Social Security disability income check. And so when I went to college, because at 14, I was worried about Pokemon cards, riding my bicycle. Hell, I didn't know about insurance or money or life. And so I went to college. I started studying very useful topics like history and culture anthropology. But I always had this calling, like, how does this Social Security work? So I started nerding out on Social Security and studying just different risk finances. And, I was 21 at the time. And it's like, what 21-year-old's reading about Social Security? Given I was still going out and having fun, I was in college and 21. So I was capitalizing on that time frame of life. But I was also studying massively on Social Security. And then I realized, like, wow, there's so many people that don't know about this. I mean, we didn't know about it. And then I would always ask people, like all my friends, right? We're all trying to put money together to buy cheap beer. I'm not going to ask them for life advice. I said, hey, what do your parents do, right? Because you always have money and you have a nice car. What do your parents do? And I kept asking that. And it led me to meet someone that had a friend that was in the insurance space. And he goes, hey, this company's hiring. I was like, okay. So I went up there and I did this interview with this company that was a recruiting-based company. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? This is it. Let me try it out. And I was 21 when I started, 22 when I got my license. And from that point on, I had no background whatsoever in finance or insurance, nothing. I mean, I'm a glorified hillbilly, grew up doing commercial logging, construction. I went to the interview with old faded jeans, the big old Copenhagen ring, and like old boots. And I was just like, hey, you know what? I want to try this. And they're like, whoa, I don't know if you're going to make it or not, but we'll let you go ahead and try. We need another recruit. So
yeah,
that's how it started, man. And it really opened my eyes up. And I remember sharing it with my family. And at that time, like, you just got to finish college, right? Just finish college and it'll all work out. Well, then a couple years went by. And I'm a slow story for success. It took me 5 years in this business to make six figures. Like, it's not overnight. At least it definitely wasn't for me. But once I started making that, I was like, why would I go back to college? I really enjoy this. I'm having fun. I'm making more money. I'm helping more people than all of my friends who got their degree, right? They're stuck in some 9-to-5 they don't like. So I just went full speed, 100% into insurance. And that was when I was about 25 years old.
Okay. You said at 21, you started studying Social Security, and you said nobody knows about this. Maybe I should teach them about it. What can you elaborate on that? Like, what is it that they don't know?
Oh, well, what we started realizing my screen's froze for some reason, but what we started realizing, or I did when I was studying the Social Security, was like, I don't remember my mom talking about, and she was a paralegal secretary for a very large law firm down in Riverside in Southern California. So, I mean, she went to college, got her degree. I mean, she's working at this very established law firm. Like we're like the middle-class family, right? Things were going well. And when I started reading the Social Security, I started asking my mom, like, did you know about this? Did you know about how to have disability insurance or life insurance? Did you know about how you can get delayed earnings credits if you did decide to wait? Were you aware that you could qualify for disability at your age? Because one of the biggest gaps we had in money, she didn't know that she could get disability insurance from from Social Security. She didn't realize that. And another doctors told her that. She thought she was too young. And hell, at that time, I didn't know what was going on. And she actually could have received it much sooner. And luckily, we hired a law firm that got her some back payments. But still, it wasn't at nearly the same time frame. So I said, well, okay, what is Social Security? Oh, it's an annuity. Okay, cool. What is an annuity? Then I started going down that rabbit. I was like, oh, people can actually own annuities. Well, how do you own an annuity? Well, what's life insurance? And so my curiosity just went rampant. And this was before Chat GPT and, the best we had was Wikipedia, and YouTube was just starting to go off. Like if we had Chat GPT now, I'd have my PhD, not my public high school diploma, but a real PhD, right? And so I started just doing tons of research. And then I stumbled upon MDRT, Million Dollar Roundtable Club. I bought their books. I started reading books about these classic old age life insurance salesmen and how they did it. And I was like, this is really cool. You're telling me I can work with people, make money, not charge them anything, and help protect their entire life. Why wouldn't I want to do this? This is amazing. So that's kind of like the curiosity, Will. And it's funny how the dots connect when you're looking back.
Yeah. Some of those government related programs like Social Security, disability insurance, those aren't advertised.
No, not at all.
And they're not going to push those out.
Oh, you're on mute, Tony. Yeah. You muted yourself.
How the hell did it happen? But yeah, these things aren't advertised.
They're not advertised at all. And there's very little.
You know that we have more money to give you?
No, and that's as I started really studying down on Social Security, like spousal benefits, survivor benefits, how to maximize your benefits. None of that. I mean, given it is all on their website per se, like the information, if you can decipher it.
Right.
Luckily, it's a little bit easier to read through, but it's still complicated. Social Security, they're not going to send you a letter being like, oh, hey, look, guess what? Did you know that you can get benefits on your ex-spouse or your deceased spouse? And if you, on your current spouse, if you wait 3 more years, you get 100% of the spousal benefit, which gives you more cash flow versus waiting until 70. They're not going to do all that. And they have the information, but they're not going to send you a letter. If they send you a letter, it's not a birthday card. It's because you owe them money. So I said, let me start teaching people how to get the most out of the system. I ended up writing a book on Social Security, and we have literally done hundreds and hundreds of classes on Social Security, teaching thousands of people all over the country on it. And it's such a rewarding feeling because I share my story. I help them get the most out of their benefit. And it's one of those, oh, by the way, situations. Mm-hmm. If you want more information about this, we can run you a custom report and we can show you what Social Security won't cover. Just like with Medicare, we can show you what Medicare won't cover because most advisors aren't doing that.
Mm-hmm. Very true. So you said you got into insurance with the recruiting group,
yep.
Right? They got you rolling.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you start to make that shift? Maybe, I guess, maybe away from them into doing some of the things that you're doing now.
Yeah, that's great.
Maybe a little bit about what that looked like.
Yeah, I was with them for about 2.5 years. So it was multi-level marketing.
Okay.
I didn't even know what that was at the time. Again, there's nothing wrong with it, but it had a negative stereotype around it for sure. All my friends thought I was crazy. You're in a pyramid scam. And I was like, it's not a pyramid, it's real. And my mom and everyone's just like, you paid them money to join. I was like, I had to pay this, enrollment fee, but it's going to work out. I swear it's real. But so I stuck with it. And I think the biggest value that I received from that was the ability to think bigger. Because I didn't grow up in like our family, we were just, like I said, a bunch of glorified hillbillies. Like nobody finished college besides my mom. And then everyone else were just construction junkies. And like, it was totally different growing up that way. I didn't think big, building a team, making millions of dollars. I didn't really know how to think that. I thought that was for other people, right? So the value that I received out of those first 2.5 years in this multi-level group was just like, wow, you can make it happen. The only limitations are the beliefs that you put on yourself. This is amazing. And so that gave me a solid foundation. But then after I started learning about the basics of insurance, I realized that I like to actually work with people directly and help them with, an actual product and a solution design. I wanted to be more in the sales position than I was in the recruiting position, talking to people at Starbucks saying, you want to join this company? I got burnt out on that. And so I said, I'm going to leave and focus somewhere else that's more just for pure production. And I actually worked with a group called Federal Financial Group. They're no longer around, but they used to work primarily with Aviva. And they used to mail cards to people for free cruises. And then, oh, by the way, to get your free cruise ticket, you have to talk to this insurance agent about your life insurance. That was their whole lead flow. And it was brutal, man. I mean, but it was very interesting to learn. So I did that for about a year. Then I said, you know what? There's so many other insurance companies that I don't have access to. I wonder if they're better for my clients. I want to feel good about what I'm doing. And then I stumbled upon the open marketplace. I was like, whoa, there's more than just 2 or 3 companies out there that have competitive products. I was never told that. So I created my own independent agency. And then that's what, right around the time I was 25, I said, you know what? I'm going to go completely independent, non-biased, be able to represent anything I want. I'll never lose in a competitive situation because now I can capitalize on the entire marketplace, which is much more than what agents could do at that time. Because in our area at that time, you got your big box houses, your Allstate Farmers, State Farm, right? That were selling tons of life insurance. I was like, well, I can beat their products. And now I can really do it because I'm on the outside fence. I can work with absolutely everyone. So that's what kind of initiated me getting more into this independent realm. And it was scary too, because when you're independent, I didn't have a constant lead source. I had to go out there and create all this activity. Like I used to literally door knock to sell life insurance. That's how desperate I was.
How many people, I'm guessing, did you have some people tell you were absolutely out of your mind at 25 to go independent and do your thing?
Yes. Yeah. They're like, why would you give up this? You got consistency of leads. We got a program. And I was just like, no, I want to do something like, I don't want to be boxed in. I'm just going to take a chance. And everyone thought I was crazy, especially the people that when I was door knocking, right, to sell life insurance. And I used to go to, like, as you've heard me share, and some of you on this call, I would literally go to hotels like the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons, and I act like I own the place. We're like, wow, what's this young gentleman doing? And he must be very successful in business. Dude, I didn't have $1 to my name. So I walked up and I used their printers. Where's the business center at, sir? I go over there and I use all their printers. I print a shitload of flyers out. And then I take those and I go door knocking on all the like wealthy neighborhoods and everything else, like talking about life insurance.
Wow. That's amazing. We had a couple of questions that popped in real quick.
Sure.
Number one, what's the title of your Social Security book?
Social Security 101.
Easy enough.
Yep.
And
anybody can download it for free if they want it. I don't charge for it. So.
Oh, wow. And then I assume that's available, I guess, on your website, right?
Yeah, you can download it on the Snar Academy or just message you and I can get it over to them. We're actually rebranding the name of the book to Social Security Reports, which is a public website that we created to help provide education to consumers, but the content's all the same.
Is that just snaracademy.com?
Yeah, right there. That's where you download the book. Now, given we're updating that book version, but yes, that's where you download the book.
No problem. We'll make sure our producer Lily gets that in the comments as well. Snar, SNARR, academy.com. Lily, if you can drop that in there for us. We got some other announcements. Stay tuned because we got some other stuff coming for you guys as well. So as you're on the road to independence, right? You're building your practice, you're getting things going, and you were firmly directed in the space of life, long-term care, annuities.
Yeah, predominantly life in the very beginning.
Okay.
Because you have to start somewhere. Some of my colleagues started with Medicare. Great. And then I just happened to start with life insurance. I mean, I had a health license, but I just started doing life insurance, the final expense, the mortgage protection.
Okay.
Just doing tons of pension maximization, right? Looking at the pension saying, hey, look, let's take the single member only benefit. You buy a life insurance policy, helps compensate the difference. You get more cash flow. This option is going to save you money. And when I did the life insurance, it's all on the guaranteed side. I never got into the infinite banking strategies or anything too much. I mean, a little bit here and there. It was mainly all on the guaranteed side. And I was clipping along. I joined the Century Club, over 100 life policies in 1 year that were issued, paid, and enforced. And it was fun, but I used to spend lots of time calling underwriters, calling people to bug them to take their medical exam. And then I just kind of stumbled. And this lady's like, hey, look, do you want to sell an annuity, or do you want to help me with this 403B, which was selling an annuity? I go, yeah, I can help you with that. Sure. No problem at all. And I had to figure out, how do I even do this? And then I moved it over. It was a $100,000 rollover, and I made $7,000. And I almost lost my mind. I was like, $7,000. What am I doing? I'd have to sell like 4 or 5 life insurance policies and go through all this headache. This was just a transfer of assets to a way better product. I just want to do this every day. I'm going to just roll over $100,000 a day. Then I found out, wow, it's not that easy.
No, it's not that hard to find those people and get them interested 100%.
Right.
So at what point did you kind of really start to gravitate in that direction where you were like, all right, no more final expense, no more mortgage protection, annuities, bigger life insurance products, and certainly LTC comes in. And I definitely want to get into that.
Yeah, it was around 2018.
Okay, so right when you started to move out here.
Correct. Yeah. So that's where that's why when I moved, I was like, I'm changing my marketplace. I'm changing my market focus. I'm going to hit LTC and annuities hardcore right now. Right. And so about 2018, I did, and in 17, I wrote like $1 million in annuity premium just from those 403Bs, but just kind of mainly all life insurance. And then in 2018, I did like 3.5, 4 million. I was like, okay, this is getting easier. Then in 2019, that's where we really upticked it, did like 8 million. And then it went to 10 million, 12 million, 15, 20, 30. And then this year, our goal is to personally production clips 40 million. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
Are you doing that mostly through workshops?
Yes, mostly through workshops, because, what I realized quickly was this, Tony. I was like, okay, I'm spending, at that time, I was married. We had our first child, and then we had 2 more kids. I was like, okay, if I'm going to spend an hour of time, okay, because there's only a few ways to make money in this business: more policies, bigger policies, or more bigger policies, right? And that is correct grammar, by the way. I would do more bigger policies. That's what I wanted to do. Well, how do I get to that marketplace? It's like, if I'm going to spend an hour to 2 hours with somebody, am I going to spend that same time frame to help them with a final expense policy or a small life insurance policy and make $1,000 to $3,000? Or am I going to spend that same amount of time and have the opportunity to make, $7,000 to $30,000? I would rather focus my time, because that's the only asset that we all have in common, right? Mm-hmm. I'd rather focus my time and have a higher ROI and then make more money, because I was spending my nights and weekends. I literally was working 7 days a week. and just processing paperwork and constantly calling on these life cases. I'd be working my tail off, and I'm only making a couple grand, which was still good. It was still revolutionary for me. However, when I started getting more into the annuity side, I'm like, I got to change my life. How do I change my life? Well, I got to make more money, but I only have so much time. How do I make more money with less time? The answer was annuities and asset-based long-term care.
Explain that some more. Asset-based long-term care.
Yes. Okay. So again, when we're talking about Social Security, my mother didn't need long-term care. She got disabled. But around that same time frame, 3 of my grandparents happened to need it. And again, I was just kind of getting my head around insurance. I had no idea, and they were too old at that time to really be able to help out with anything. I started to realize, I was like, well, they have Medicare, right? Like there's some health insurance there. I remember reading about that. And then I started looking into it. It's like Medicare doesn't care. I mean, it doesn't cover long-term care. And so I was like, why wouldn't it cover long-term care? I started like, well, how many people even need this stuff? I started researching. Depending on the statistic you look at, it's between 50 and 70%. Let's just say it's 50. I'm like, half of the population, the largest generation ever created, there's 12,000 people a day turning 65. And within the next 15 years, half of them at a low end are going to need long-term care. How are they going to pay for it? How much does it even cost? So I started looking at how much it costs and what programs are available. And there's Medicaid if you're completely impoverished. I was like, this is a huge gap. What? Nobody's talking about this. I have friends that are financial advisors. I went through all these training courses, worked at all these other companies, and then none of them push long-term care. Why is that? Well, it's not the easiest thing to sell, and there's underwriting involved. I said, you know what? Let me start really niching down on this long-term care. And it was the easiest thing for me because I made a partnership with Jason Fisher here and multiple other Medicare groups all over the country. I said, look, guys, all you got to do is tell your clients, hey, look, there's something that Medicare doesn't cover. We're going to have you speak with our specialist who specializes in what Medicare does not cover. And that happens to be long-term care. That was my door opener into annuities. See, the problem with annuities is that you can't just walk up. I can't go, hey, Tony, you want to buy an annuity? What's in your 401k? They're like, oh, I don't need all that. But if you were in the Medicare age realm, I say, hey, look, has anyone ever explained to you what Medicare won't cover? Do you want to have surprises in the future? How about I at least share with you what Medicare won't cover? And oh, by the way, if you have any Social Security questions, which everyone does, I can also help with that. You have to have a door opener. And so Social Security and long-term care are the perfect door openers to get you into the annuity space with the least amount of resistance. You can buy straight up annuity leads. You can do seminars 100% on annuities, but it's much more of a grind. It's a longer process using those 2 door openers, but it's fun because you get to educate people on how to protect themselves. You add value. And guess what? Their financial advisor most likely is not helping them with long-term care.
Right.
And so we get a lot of people to say, I love my financial advisor. He charges me fees even when I lose money. I am never going to leave him. I'm not open-minded to that. I go, no problem at all. How about we work together on long-term care? I'll even call your financial advisor and we can all 3 work together. Really? You'll do that? Yeah. I don't do what they do and they don't do what I do. And then I start getting referrals from those financial advisors. Now we have financial advisors that are at the Motley Fool, Oppenheimer funds, all these big companies that just refer us LTC business because they don't want to touch it. They don't want to get their hands around it. And I might not sell an annuity from those referrals, but I'm still helping them with long-term care. And it's conceptually easy to sell to the client.
Understood. So you had mentioned earlier that you kind of use LTC, makes a great door opener. Hey,
Yeah.
let me talk to you about things that Medicare does not cover. Right. Which it says in the Medicare and You guide. It's one of the first things it says, like, we do not cover custodial care, long-term care, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But when you're having that conversation, your real goal is to use that to get you into an annuity presentation.
Correct. So like if I was talking with you and I said, hey, Tony, has anyone ever gone over what Medicare will not cover? And then you say, no, they haven't. Well, let's go over that just so you don't have any surprises. Okay. Here are some of the things that Medicare doesn't cover. And depending on the conversation, I'll share with them, hey, look, there's certain cancer treatments that are limited. That's why there's other ancillary products there. But the main thing I'm going to hit on is the long-term care. I go, you get 20 days of skilled nursing. That's it. And then there's a copayment and it's all on you. And there's qualifications to get those 20 days. But most care, at least in the beginning, is custodial care, which in the Medicare and You guidebook, which I'll pull out the guidebook and I'll highlight, it won't cover it. So if you happen to need care today, what assets do you have to pay for care? Oh, I have a 401k, I have an IRA, I have all this stuff. I go, okay, great. Long-term care today, In our area, in the Austin, Texas realm, it's anywhere between $8,000 and $15,000 a month, depending on the level and time of care that you actually need. How would that affect your portfolio if you started spending it down? Oh, that would be pretty steep. I go, do you know that the average stay on long-term care is 5 years? They go, really? And then I open it up emotionally. I go, have you ever experienced a long-term care event? Because remember, this type of selling, it's relationship building. It's not transactional. You're not enrolling somebody in a mandatory product like Medicare where they have to choose an option. There's no legal requirement to have long-term care. And you're talking to people about repositioning money for an event that might not even happen to them. And even if it does happen to them, it's not for another 15 or 20 years, and they don't even want it to happen to them. And it takes a lot of money to reposition. So it's a pretty big uphill battle. But the way we solve that battle is just by telling stories and sharing experiences. So I will share with people my personal long-term care experiences. I'll ask them to share theirs, and whether or not they've had one is almost irrelevant. If they've had one, it makes it a little bit easier. And I just go over the basics. I go, long-term care oftentimes is not marketed correctly, and it's not really presented the right way because most advisors don't focus on that. They focus on growing the money, and most insurance agents only focus on life insurance or health insurance, where this is a little bit different classification, but it's something that we actually have a specialty with. And the biggest objection that you're going to get with long-term care is that I'm going to self-insure, right? That's the biggest objection. I go, you know what? That's great. I'm a huge proponent of self-insurance. Did you know there's 2 ways to do it? You can self-insure with your own money that's not guaranteed, it's not leveraged, and potentially not tax advantage, or you can use your own money that's leveraged, guaranteed, and tax advantage. And if you don't use it, it goes back to your family. If you change your mind and if you just want your money back, you can have a plan like that. But more importantly, if you happen to need it, it'll pay out to you and you can spend it however you choose. And if you were going to try to beat this through an investment strategy, you'd have to clip over 15% a year, guaranteed every single year. Now, if you can do that, right, then maybe you don't consider it. And they go, I never thought of it that way. The biggest way to overcome this self-insuring objection, as I tell people, the insurance companies aren't going to give you this. Do you think they're going to give it to you because you're nice? No, you're still self-insuring. You're just doing it through a smarter way. Mm-hmm. Now, if your home is paid off, Tony, would you have homeowners insurance? Most people would say yes, right? Of course,
of course, absolutely.
Yeah, but you don't legally have to. The homeowner's insurance is to protect the lender, not you.
Right.
But if your house is paid off, why would you waste that money on homeowner's insurance? You've got $3 million in your portfolio. Buy another house. And they go, well, no, in case something happens. I go, do you think it's more likely that you're going to exercise the entirety of your dwelling on your homeowner's policy, or that you're going to get old and need assistance? And they go, old and need assistance. I said, imagine if your homeowner's insurance guy calls you. He goes, you know what, Tony? There's a storm that's going to hit your neighborhood. 50% of these houses are going to be completely destroyed in your neighborhood within the next 10 to 20 years. We don't know when the storm is coming or if your house is going to get hit. But if you'd like, we can review your homeowner's insurance now, because the closer we get to that storm, it's going to skyrocket in rates. Would you like to review your homeowner's insurance now, get it secured and guaranteed and over with? That way you don't have to worry about if the storm comes. Most people say, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, this is a proven storm. It's on the Weather Channel. It's guaranteed to happen. It's guaranteed to hit your neighborhood, and about half of the houses are going to get destroyed. Yeah, I want to do that. Well, that's long-term care. It's just never been presented that way. So once I share some analogies and metaphors and start talking to people about this, I'm like, look, it's the reality that is probably going to happen, maybe not to you individually, but maybe your spouse. It's going to happen to the majority of people. Do your own research, and you'll find the very same thing. And that's how we sell an enormous amount of long-term care. In Texas, we sell more long-term care insurance than any other insurance agency. And that's not all that we do. I mean, long-term care insurance represents about 35% of our total business as an agency. And we're still number one because we have these conversations. And it is a phenomenal door opener, because once you have long-term care, you either have to do it through a single premium or you got to pay for it monthly or annually. Well, how do you pay for it? Well, what if there was a way, Tony, that you could have your long-term care premiums automatically paid for, right? You're going to spend the money anyway. Wouldn't you want it guaranteed? Just money in, money out? Yeah, how's that work? Well, let's take the premium that you're paying of $10,000 a year for long-term care. Let's have a little annuity right here that gives you a lifetime payment of $10,000 a year. That way you're not trying to time the stock market. You're not stressing out about anything. I mean, again, you're going to spend it anyway. Why not have it guaranteed? And that's how we double end it. We give them an annuity that pays for the long-term care. And that's the majority of our clients there. And our annuity sales, they're not huge. They're on average like $200,000, $250,000. That's it. Even though they may have $5 million in the markets. We only help them with the problem that they're facing. And then what happens naturally is that if it only takes 100,000 to make that 10,000 for that client, they'll say, what if I put more in? I go, oh, you could. So now they are buying it. That's the psychology that we use. And then we'll use, because I know a lot of your folks are Medicare. Hey, guess what? Part B premiums, right? And your Part D and your supplement, you're going to have to pay for that forever. And it's a guaranteed fixed cost that goes up generally every year, right? It's going to have price fluctuations. What if there was a way to automate that where you could have the majority, if not all of it, paid for by utilizing your own assets? That's 2 to 3 times the safe withdrawal rate of your stock market fund. Well, how does that work? Well, we could just use a small little annuity, just like Social Security. That's why they call it your primary insurance amount, to fund this premium for healthcare, because long-term care is going to go into healthcare. So we're going to take a look at the portfolio and say, this is our healthcare portion. This is what we need to spend. And so what amount of assets do we have to use to cover all of these expenses? And then you leave the rest with your financial advisor, you leave the rest growing, vacation, whatever you want. And they go, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I go, sometimes, Tony, people will actually want to have a little bit more income coming in to pay their property taxes, to pay for vacation, to use for Christmas presents for their grandkids. So you can put a little bit more in here and create a higher guaranteed stream of income and then invest the rest more aggressively because you already have a good section that's going to cover all your fixed expenses. Financial Planning 101. Every single financial course that you take, CFP, CHFC, anything says you need to have enough guaranteed income to cover your fixed expenses. And that's what we do. We don't pick stocks for you. And your advisor will agree with that. If they don't agree with it, that means they're going against the curriculum that they passed to the state and everything else. And then that way kind of corners the advisor.
So want to make sure I followed along properly.
Yeah.
If I heard that correctly, you're basically selling 2 policies. You're selling a long-term care, but you're selling an annuity to help pay for the long-term care.
That's right.
What issues do you have, if any, against annuities that have LTC riders built into them?
Love it. So there's 2 ways to do that. Okay. A lot of agents say, hey, I have this income annuity that has long-term care. Not true. Because the income annuities, they're index annuities generally, they're not SPIAs. They have an enhancement feature. Okay. It's not classified as 7702B as in boy long-term care. You're not going to find an actual certified long-term care annuity that has a lifetime income rider. They have enhancement features. So there's a very popular company out there that sells a ton of this. And agents mislead people, not intentionally, but because they don't understand how it works. They'll say, hey, look, here's your income. You put 100 grand in, you wait 5 years, and they're going to give you 8,000 a year for you and your wife. That's an 8% cash to cash rate of return. Oh, by the way, if you happen to need long-term care, that 8,000 goes to 16,000. And it'll do that for 5 years, the average day of claim. Awesome, sign me up. What they don't realize, because most agents don't read the contracts, is that doubling feature only applies if there's money in those policies. And on index annuities, the way that they're designed actuarially is that if they're buying this at 65, they turn on income, say at 70, by the time they're in their 80s, there's no more money there. They're just getting their income payments. There's nothing to double or enhance. Even if it does double or enhance, it's not 100% income tax-free unless it's through a Roth, right? There's no tax advantage. There's no additional leverage there in the form of taxation because it's not technically long-term care. They're accelerated benefits. And so let's say in that same example, they get 16,000 per year, but now the husband needs it because the wife used it first. Guess what? He's out of luck. It only covers one person, right? And so do we use index annuities with income riders that have an enhancement feature as a part of a long-term care plan? Yes, we can, but it's not the end-all be-all. The real annuities that have actual long-term care, they're going to give you very little interest. There's no guaranteed lifetime payment, but there's a lot less underwriting because it doesn't have a life insurance component to it. And the client would park 100 grand in, and then they would get, say, 200,000 or 300,000 or 400,000 in the future for LTC. So a lot of agents will say, you know what, this is easy. Here's a company, I park 100, my client gets 400,000 for long-term care, 3-to-1 leverage ratio because they use your first 100. That's easy sell. I'm going to walk away, be done with it, right? But is that the best sell? What if you took that same 100,000 and you put it into a different type of asset-based long-term care that's cash indemnity life insurance, and that 100 turned into $1 million by the time they're 85? That's better, right? And so when we do long-term care, we do the planning, we show people the differences to make sure that they get the absolute best policy situation.
Understood.
Yeah.
When do you think is the right time for someone to buy long-term care?
As soon as possible. I have $1 million LTC policy and I'm 37, and that's not enough, right? Now, here's why. You got to look at your marketplace, first of all. If you're selling final expense coverage or mortgage protection to somebody in their 40s, it's hard to sell them the long-term care insurance when they're 40. It's like, hey, guess what? You should spend money on this thing that might not even happen to you. And if it does, it's not for another 45 years, but you should buy it anyway. It's a harder sell. So generally speaking, people 50 and below, what we're utilizing is permanent life insurance and term life that has either a qualified long-term care rider associated with it or a very healthy enhanced benefit structure just in case they need it. So it's going to be more life insurance focused because there's a higher need for life insurance when you're below 50. When they're post 50, generally the kids are out of the house and there's less need for life insurance. Now the need is shifting to like what happens in the future, who's going to change our diapers. We don't want our kids doing that. Let's reshift the focus. And that's where the actual long-term care comes into play. And given they may still need life insurance at that time, which is fine. And then we do a balance of it. And that's a great point that you brought up, Tony, because a lot of agents will say, well, I'm going to sell them just a life insurance policy of long-term care. They're all set to go. Well, what do they really need? What's the purpose of that money? What do we want to accomplish? Because if you spend, say, $10,000 a year on a life insurance policy, you're going to have a massive death benefit. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. However, the long-term care portion of that is only the death benefit. Whereas if you took that same $10,000, you could actually create a lower death benefit, but 3 to 5 times the amount of long-term care. Can't have your cake and eat it too. You want more long-term care, you get less death benefit. You want more death benefit, you get less long-term care. So that's where the actual planning and doing the right thing for the client comes in. And it's not complicated. I mean, it's literally just using life insurance and annuities. It's far less complicated than taking the AHIP. I remember at one time I looked at getting the AHIP done. I thought maybe I'll sell some Medicare. I got about halfway through that thing. I'm like, nope, I'm just going to refer it out. I don't even want to rev share. Just somebody else deal with this.
Understood completely, man. This has been extremely informative. I can see people in the chat lighten up with comments and appreciation and say they are saving this to watch on the replay. But they don't have to. They can just come to Annuity Producers event, which again is August 20th and 21st at the Kalahari Resort. And my understanding is that you're throwing out a wee bit of a special offer for us.
Yeah, you can use a promo code SNAR20 on that. It's 20% off the ticket. Let me give you a breakdown of this event. We're going to have Tom Hegna there, a friend of ours. He's going to be speaking the first day. This event is 100% boot camp training. It's a very extended version of this brief call that we're having today. And when we go into the weeds, we're going to even have a section on disclosures, but it's important to learn that. We're going to show you, if you've never sold an annuity before, here's exactly how to get into the space. Or even if you're selling 5, 10, 15, or 20 million, here's how you get to that next level into the annuity practice. It's 100% educational. I promise everyone, you're not going to see me take my shirt off and tell you to smell candles and manifest success. There's no motivation here. The motivation you're going to get is through the education and seeing real people like myself and others. We have other speakers that are on the stage that are not even a part of our team. This is a neutral event, and it's going to be a great way to network and hang out with a couple hundred other agents. A lot of them are already actively in the annuity space, and it's the only annuity conference in the country. Not one other group is doing it. That is because we're not an IMO. And so it's a lot of fun. The tickets are incredibly cheap. We don't even, just to give people an insight, we had an agent ask us like, oh, you must be raking it in. No, the food cost, because we feed you breakfast and lunch every day at a 5-star resort. The tickets barely cover the food costs, right? And so we're doing this to give back, and then it helps us build our credibility within the industry. But it is an opportunity of a lifetime. If you ever considered selling annuities or asset-based long-term care, this is the event for you, because it's going to be 2 full days of just pure hardcore training. And then we're going to have fun at night, don't get me wrong. But during the day, it's just back-to-back, like 9 hours of training on how to sell annuities.
Excellent, man. Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. I put the we put the link in the comments, annuityproducers.com. That's where they can go and snag their tickets. And as I remember, we actually have a syndicate code Syndicate
Oh,
20.
that's right. Syndicate
Same thing,
20.
right? So
Same thing.
Syndicate 20 is the promo code. That will save you some cash, and you can go and learn everything you need to know. I went last year. I wasn't there for the whole time, but I went last year briefly and found it extremely informative. And it's exactly what Roy said. Like, it's boot camp. You didn't have any motivational speakers, right? He didn't have any hoo-ha. It was all people that are in this space explaining how they do what they do and why they do what they do, just as Roy's been kind of going. So if you are in the LTC space, if you're in the Medicare space, if you're in the Social Security space, you should 100% be at this event to accelerate your knowledge and grow your business. So I am super excited about it. I will definitely be there. I've got a couple of other events that are right around that same time. I'll be in Dallas on the 20th for a NABIP event, and then back in town, we have a NABIP event on the 21st, but I will definitely bounce into your event, say hello for a bit, and check it out. So I am super impressed.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, I was going to give a free marketing tip to everyone on the call.
Yeah.
What you should do is learn the basics of Social Security and Medicare, and then also long-term care. And you can do that. You could read my books that we wrote. Garrett and I, my partner, he and I wrote a book on long-term care. I promise if you read that long-term care book, and it's free, if you read that, you'll know more than most advisors. It's a sales guide for the agent and the consumer. But if you really want to get into this space and kind of change your perspective, all you have to do, if you already have a book of business, imagine if you sent out an email that just said, checking in with y'all, letting you know some very important updates. Are you aware of what your current Medicare plan will not cover? We don't want you to have any surprises. Please schedule a 15-minute call with me. I want to go over in detail what your Medicare plan won't cover so it doesn't affect you negatively financially. And send that out. You know how many people are going to click on it? And if you want to save face, because you might feel like, oh, I don't want to do that because I never brought it up, you can easily pivot it. Say, hey, during open enrollment and special enrollment, all these enrollment periods, we're just so flooded with people. We always take the middle of the year after everything's kind of settled down to go back over and go over all this information with you. Or you can even say, we just recently opened up a specialized division within our company that does nothing but help people with what Medicare doesn't cover. And if you don't know anything about that, find somebody to partner with. I mean, we partner with agents, but maybe you want to find somebody locally, find somebody locally and start referring the business and learn this yourself. You can sell this stuff yourself. Imagine taking one Medicare sale and turning it into an annuity and asset-based long-term care. The average commission on our long-term care strategies is $7,500. And that's after 4,000 clients of data. $7,500. Imagine whatever you make on your Medicare, and you add an extra $7,500. And what we have found is about 1 in every 15 Medicare clients, as long as they're not DSNP, 1 in every 15 Medicare clients is going to turn into an annuity and long-term care sale. So for every 15 that you sell, you make an extra $7,500. Imagine that. How would that change your life? And you're helping them. Here's a guilt trip for you too. Let's say you don't do this and you never refer it out, and you build a book up of 1,000 people. Half of those people on the low end are going to need long-term care. You should feel inherently bad that you never had that conversation. Imagine their kids calling you and being like, hey, did you help mom and dad out with long-term care? They're in a facility. We can't get this Medicare to pay for it. Nope, sorry, didn't care. Way too lazy. I was just focused on my renewals. You got to think deeper about this, okay? So there's an emotional perspective to it. Do some research on long-term care. That should tug on your heartstrings, and you have a massive opportunity to help people that no one's really going after except for us. So
makes sense. You said about roughly 1 in 15 of your Medicare clients.
That's
so
correct.
These are people 65 and older, will take you up on the offer.
That's correct. On average, that's what, and this is from working here with Jason. This is here working with people all the way in Mississippi, Florida, New York, just the average, because we have over 36 Medicare partnerships all over the country from different tops. About 1 in 15 will actually be able to do something with, because you can't help everyone. Some people are
Can't help everybody.
You can't help
some people. You can't get them underwritten on the LTC product in the first place.
Well, the good news is too, depending on what state they live in, is that we have a guaranteed issue long-term care plan that is hyper competitive. The downside to it does require a $50,000 single premium. So again, not everyone's eligible, but then you can help them with short-term home health care. It's not long-term care. That's why they call it short-term, but it's a great plan. It helps a lot of people out. Why not?
Absolutely. What out of those 1 in 15, real quick, we got a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
What's that average avatar look like?
The average avatar is somebody who say, like our average client is 65 for long-term care because they just learn about it, right? You're not too old for it. Even if you're 70, you're still not too old for it. But the perfect client situation in that average is that they have enough income, either through their Social Security or through a pension, that they're not living on credit cards. They have roughly 250,000 in retirement assets total, and that could be checking, savings, IRA, 401k. And they have gone through a long-term care event or they're open-minded to learning about it. You'll realize in this business, a lot of agents go, I want to go for the ultra high net worth. I don't. It's a pain in the ass. They got 4 different advisors to figure out how many sheets of toilet paper they should buy. I like the people that are like 500,000 and below in income because no one's going after them. The big Ken Fishers of the world, they now require $1 million. There's a lot of underserved marketplace. They're easier to work with and there's a higher need for it and there's more of them. And so those are the type of people that we really enjoy because if they have 250,000, they have enough income, that's enough room for me to take 100,000 off, make an annuity to pay for a joint long-term care policy for them. So now they have an annuity income and long-term care and they still have retirement assets and it's balanced.
And when you say they've gone through a long-term care event, you mean they've witnessed someone dealing with long-term care?
Yeah, that's
the need for long-term care.
That's correct. Because if they can have the empathy for it,
right,
not just the sympathy, it's a much easier transition. Because if they've never gone through it before, it's a little bit more challenging sometimes to drill in how bad it is. Because if they say, oh, no one in my family ever needed it, everybody thinks that long-term care is inherited, which it's not. No. And so it's a little bit harder to educate them, but if they've actually gone through it, and if you just do a general census, right? I mean, if you have a database, you just email your database, hey, look, have any of you ever experienced long-term care with a family member or loved one? There's always new changes going on with the government and CMS. We want to make sure that you're aware of it. Let me know in an email back. Yes, I have. And then I want to reach out and give you a call so we can help protect your assets, right? That's it. Something simple like that.
There you go.
Most people have gone through it or they've known somebody that's gone through it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, man, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to come and drop this on and provide our members with some discounts for those that want to come join the event. So thank you so much. If somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach out to Mr. Roy Snar?
The best way, just through the Annuity Producers website, just annuityproducers.com. You can fill out a form there and just reach out. And then we have on average over 1,000 agents a month actively involved in the site. And so we get a lot of messages, but I always do my best to personally reach out to everyone that's out there. I want to do this to help give back. Also, my training calls every Thursday, they're free. Like there's no requirement, commitment, anything. They're free.
What time are you doing those?
11 a.m. every Thursday. And then we're actually going to have Tom Hegna on the 17th. And so if you go to the Annuity Producer site, you can sign up for the Zoom webinar, totally free. And then I break down every week. I go, look, this is how I wrote $2.5 million last week in annuity premiums. Here's the objections. Here's the cases that I lost, right? I share all the loses too. It's not like I win every single time.
Sure.
I'll share these losses and I'll say, this is why I feel I lost it. And then this is how I won this case. And this is why I designed it. And I share the screen, do illustrations. It's real applicable training by people that are actually out there doing it. That's the key.
Like it. That's annuityproducers.com. You can find the Social Security 101 book. You can find the long-term care book that he wrote with his partner, Garrett. You can find your tickets for the event coming up August 21st and 22nd. Remember, Syndicate 20 is your promo code. Get you some money saved. And then again, every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central, tune into his live training. Totally. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Roy Snar. He is a beast. I truly appreciate you coming by. Thank you guys for tuning in, but that will be Tuesday training for this week. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.